All right guys, in today's video, we're gonna discuss how you understand judges' feedback. Hey guys, what's going on? This is Paul Rebella from ProPhysique.com, and today I got Lexie back in the chair.
What's up guys? I feel like it's been a hot minute.
Yeah, Coach Lexie has been through a lot. A couple shows, got the COVID, and now we're back to normal.
Yeah, almost. A little congested, but I am doing good.
So what we're gonna discuss now is the feedback that we got for Lexie and how you can interpret feedback that you get from a judge at a show, and just understand what that feedback means. So we'll just get right into it. We'll probably put some pictures up here of Lexie. So Lexie did 3 shows this year. Why don't you discuss that?
Yes, I did 3 shows. My first show was, I think it was like May 22nd to be exact, but that was in Oklahoma, so a little ways ago, or a little ways away. And then I did Janet's Battle of the Bodies on July 31st, and then kind of made the last minute decision a few days before to do the Tampa Pro, which was the next weekend after Battle of the Bodies, August 7th. So those are my 2 most recent shows, and it's been about almost 2 weeks since the Tampa Pro, so I'm officially like in my improvement season, you could say. But yeah, I did 3 shows, 1 a little while ago, and then 2 back to back.
Yeah, so I think the important thing for us was that we wanted to get better at each show, and I thought we did that. I think you ended the season with your best placing.
Yeah, I think so. At Janet's Battle of the Bodies, which was the July 31st show, I felt like we improved so much from Oklahoma to that show, and I did a whole like season recap on my YouTube channel too, with showing those pictures, but I think we improved really well. However, at that show I placed terribly, but I was actually pretty proud of my package, and then I went on to compete at the Tampa Pro and did a little bit better there. And
this is something you got to consider, is that different judging panels look for different things in competitors, and so as a coach I tend to coach people on a specific standard, and that is what's being rewarded at the national and professional level, and I tend to coach my amateurs that way. At Janet's show, I felt like they went with a little bit different look. They wanted a much fuller competitor, and with you being on the more petite side, I felt like you got a little bit overlooked in the open division. But when we came back to Tampa, different judging panel moved up, and you know, and ended up what was your best package on stage of the year. Yeah,
I think at the end of the day I came to the realization that I can't get all up in my head about the placings. Like at the end of the day, if I look at my package on stage and I'm proud of that, that's truthfully all that matters. And you know, when I competed back in Oklahoma in May, you know, I was proud of my package, but I knew we had some improvements to make, specifically with leaning out my glutes. That was my main feedback at that show. But you know, I feel like we were really able to do just that coming into these past 2 shows, so I was pretty satisfied with that.
Yeah, so let's talk about your feedback, because we got feedback immediately in Oklahoma from Sandy.
We did.
So what was that feedback?
So basically, it was awesome. I got to like literally stand right with her there in person and get feedback, and she mainly just said overall shape and balance was good, specifically for the front pose, that I just needed to come in a lot leaner in my glutes, and I think we definitely knew that, you know, after looking at the stage shots. That was my main piece of feedback after that show.
So when a judge tells you you need to come in leaner, that's a pretty clear indication. That judge probably understands what they're saying. The thing you got to look out for is sometimes judges will say, oh, you should have peaked differently, you should have pulled your water sooner. Those tend to mean you should be leaner, and what they'll actually say is something about water. You have to remember, judges, not all of them have ever competed, or coaches and actually understand the process of the human body. So when they say pull the water, it's a visual cue. To them, girls that are leaner or competitors that are leaner look quote unquote drier, meaning the skin has a thinner look to it because there's less body fat there blurring the lines. That's what bodybuilding is when it comes to conditioning. You're trying to get the body fat out from under the skin so that you look more muscular. So when a judge says leaner, I can appreciate that. When a judge says you looked watery, I don't like that.
Yeah, nor do I. So I think we knew that was, I don't want to say an easy fix, but you know, we knew what we had to do to kind of come in leaner. I just needed to, I think you said right off the beginning, just probably drop maybe 2-3 pounds before my next show in order to really get the leanness of the glutes to pop.
Yes, so we made some adjustments. We came in several pounds leaner. I thought a little bit fuller as well. And so we went into Janet's show, and didn't even get in the top 5, which was kind of surprising to me. And I thought definitely based on your conditioning, your shape, your overall, bikini presentation, you should have been in that top 5, but that's what bodybuilding shows are for. Coaches don't get to decide it, competitors don't get to decide it, but did you get feedback?
Yes, I did. I emailed as soon as I could to get feedback, and I think he gave me 3 main pieces of feedback. The one that was an easy fix was my tan. So actually this was the first show I had ever done my own tan. Just wanted to try it out. Nothing against the DIY Pro Tan kit. Like, I think it was phenomenal. It wasn't dark enough on me. So that was one of my pieces of feedback. And then my 2 other pieces of feedback were a little bit more shape in the glutes, and then the other piece of feedback was just to potentially build my upper body and come in a little bit fuller on my upper body.
Yeah, so when it came to this show, there was a lot of girls that I would say were on the softer side. And when girls are softer, they can tend to look a little bit more kind of developed. It's not necessarily the case. So when I was looking at Lexie's physique compared to these girls, yes, she looked a little more slender. And Lexie has a longer torso, so that does give her the illusion of being a little bit more linear up and down. But she also has some of the best development in the glutes and the shoulders, which it's the 2 main body parts that they judge in the bikini division. So in my mind, I was like, okay, she's gonna fit right in here and potentially be fighting for a class win. So it was a bit odd to see the way it went, but when I ended up seeing how the show went, the girls that I would have predicted to do well, even competitors I'd never seen before, not my clients, did not do as well. And some others did, who were just a little fuller and a little softer. So that show, in my mind, stood out as being kind of, okay, now I know when I'm going to be judged by those judges what we need to be doing.
Yes, that's an important takeaway. Like you said from the beginning, a lot of judges, different judges will sometimes prefer different looks, and it's just good to make note of that now with those specific judges.
Yeah, and that's an important part of coaching and of competing, is that you want to go into a competition depending on what your goals are. If your goals are to win, you need to understand the rules of the game you're playing, and conditioning, shape, balance, all these things that are used, they're perceived differently by different judges. So you have to understand it's not right or wrong. There is a standard that they're trying to uphold, but with each judge, you can look at that and go, okay, this is what they wanted at this show. So we didn't decide right away to do Tampa.
Correct. You mentioned it right after, I think right after finals or right after prejudging at Janet's show, and I was still a little a little heartbroken by my placing, and I needed some time to settle with that, so I didn't give you a yes or no answer. And then I don't think it was until Tuesday of that next week I called you and was like, so I think I want to do Tampa. I want to do the Tampa Prep.
Yeah, so the reason I wanted you to do the one more show, and this is another job of a coach, is that I knew the type of judge you were going to get in front of. You were going to get in front of the same judge that I had just been in front of in Texas, and I know what he really pays attention to. And I thought, okay, this is a perfect chance for Lexie to kind of redeem and just get excited again. So at that show, I actually thought you came in even better than the Janet show. I thought your color was better.
Yes.
I thought your conditioning, everything looked really full. And so what did you feel about your stage package in Tampa?
Honestly, I feel like it was the best I've ever looked. Of course, there are still improvements that I feel like I can make, but at the end of the day, the improvements that I feel like I have to make are not, at this point, it's not come in leaner or anything like that. For me, I know the improvements that I have to make are going to require me to take an extended improvement season to just build muscle. Because again, I received feedback that I just need to, even bring in my glutes a little bit more, get just a little bit more shape, which in my opinion means that they just wanted a little bit more leanness there. But I just know that at that, I probably couldn't have come in any leaner at that point without compromising just my upper body and just looking stringy. So I know that with time, if I put on more muscle and more size, it's going to be easier for me to lean out my glutes in the future without having to get as lean everywhere else.
Yeah, so a couple things you'll often hear from the judges, and here's how you can interpret it multiple ways. So judges will say, well, you need to be a little bit fuller. That can mean two things. Fuller can mean you actually didn't peak that well and you look a little bit flat on stage, meaning the volume of your muscle is either increased or decreased. If it's increased, you're full. If it's decreased, you're flat, okay? So coming in fuller can be a simple correction as far as, hydration, carbing up, making sure the muscles are full. It can also mean you don't have enough muscle. So if you don't have enough muscle to fill out the area of the glutes, the shoulders, the back, whatever body part that they feel needs to come up, you might just need to go put on more muscle. Putting on muscle is something that does not happen in contest condition.
Correct.
So if you've come in at your optimal leanness, your optimal fullness, and you're still not winning or placing the way you want to place, that's generally going to be a good sign that you should take some time away and go put on some muscle.
Correct, and that's kind of when I knew, in my mind that, heck, I could have still competed if I wanted to and drawn out my season, but I knew at the end of the day with the feedback I was receiving, it was it was an indicator that I just need to grow, I need to put on muscle. I'm a pretty small human when I get stage lean, so I knew that unless I wanted to just place the same I had been placing, at shows, if I had continued to prep, I wouldn't have been putting on that muscle. So it's, I wouldn't have been working towards those goals that I needed to work towards.
Yeah, so oftentimes when you're getting feedback from judges, just remember they're not necessarily coaches. They don't necessarily understand the process. So you have to interpret what they're looking at on stage. What did they see different from you and the other competitors? Okay, and then also remember it can come down to who you're standing next to. She did 3 shows. They were all 3 national qualifiers. They all 3 had different head judges. Had she placed very well at one of these shows, we probably would have been looking at going to nationals. However, going to nationals, I know she knows what they're going to require. And that means you basically should at least be winning your classes at a regional show of these sizes.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't want to go to the national level until I know that I have a really good chance at, becoming a pro at the national level. I don't want to just go to, have fun. Even though it is fun, I want to go to win.
Yeah, and so, again, judges' feedback is very important because they're you have to be able to step back, let your ego drop away as a coach, as a competitor, not get miffed by what they're telling you, okay? Right. Because they see so many competitors. Every single weekend they're seeing hundreds of competitors and they have a very trained eye. They've been told by the organization what the standard is for the division. If you're not meeting the standard, then hey, you can either get leaner, put on muscle, peak better. Whatever the feedback you get is, you can work towards that goal. But if you just want to be right and tell them that they're wrong, you're not actually going to hear what they're having to say, and you're not going to make the right adjustments.
Correct, I completely agree with that.
All right, so go check out Lexie's channel. I'll link it below. She did a lot of videos during this prep. We'll keep up with the prep in the off season.
Absolutely.
I think, my feedback for Lexie is we're gonna need to get heavier in the off season. Lexie started prep this year only a few pounds above stage weight.
I was like 10.
You were
9.
Yeah, I'd say, but I'd say you were doing a considerable amount of cardio.
Yeah.
And you like to stay on the leaner side.
I guess, at the time it wasn't, I guess that's what I preferred, and now that I've competed this past season, I kind of know that okay, unless I want to come back next year looking the exact same, I am gonna have to put on more mass and more size.
And that doesn't mean you have to get sloppy, but I think correct. If we allow your stage weight, your off-season weight to creep up a couple more pounds, really be eating the food, really be getting strong, that's how you pack on lean body mass, okay?
Yes.
I know women love to stay in shape all year round, but bodybuilding, for some people, it requires that you just get in the gym and lift heavier and eat a little bit more food. So we'll see how it goes. We're just getting started, but I'm sure we'll document that.
Yeah, we'll give updates. So far, since I'm recovered now from being sick, I've been back at the gym, and honestly, this food, I've been feeling great in the gym, feeling like an athlete again.
See the bicep, how you looking?
Oh, I still look a little small. I don't have a pump. Maybe you can see my shoulder.
Yeah, we always see your shoulders. All right, guys, so go check out Lexie's channels, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.
Bye, guys.